my beloved child. I speak this to you in the kind of silence only your soul and mine can hear. The heavenly door I have prepared for you has opened, not because you were good enough, strong enough, or worthy enough, but because the plan I wrote for you was set in motion long before time began to flow. You look back on the past years and see only narrow corridors, closed doors, rejection, and long stretches of waiting, and you conclude that surely heaven must still be locked to you. But you did not see the mornings when I stood at the threshold of eternity and called your name in love. Every sigh you released, every whispered question in the night wondering whether your turn would ever come, I heard in full. Not a single whisper fell into empty space. Each one became a gentle knock upon the door whose opening I had already appointed. That door was not opened by your hurried striving, nor by the cleverness of your calculations, nor by all the times you tried to do everything perfectly in hopes of earning a reward. It opened because I determined within myself, the time has come, and when I say the time has come, no human schedule can revise it, and no force in the shadows can delay it. Everything in the visible realm simply catches up with what has already been sealed in the unseen. You are only beginning to see the first rays slipping through the cracks in the wall around you. But, beloved, from my side, that door is already standing wide open. The delay you feel is merely the tenderness of my preparation, forming your soul so you can cross the threshold without trembling. I did not design you to stand outside forever, peering into a promised land you assume belongs to others. I designed you to step in, to touch, to dwell in the territory I marked with your name by my own hand. Do not judge the heavenly door by the tiredness you feel today. See it through. My eyes a door anointed with grace, not for you to pound on until your knuckles bleed, but for you to enter under my guidance. You once believed that if you prayed long enough, fasted hard enough, served faithfully enough, you could somehow open heaven, as though I were withholding everything until you reached a certain spiritual threshold and only then reluctantly smiled. But I tell you the truth, the heavenly door is not opened by your perfection, but by my unchanging mercy. This does not mean your prayers are meaningless, your tears wasted, or your faithfulness unnoticed. On the contrary, they are the very threads I have woven into my plan so you might participate, cooperate, and grow in depth instead of merely watching miracles unfold outside of you. You have blamed yourself for every delay, convinced you must have done something wrong, missed a step, skipped a ritual, failed to be spiritual enough to deserve breakthrough. But beloved, if my divine plan depended on your unblemished performance, it would have collapsed long ago. I wrote the days of your life before you had even lived one. I knew the seasons you would pause, the chapters where you would lose direction, the years when exhaustion would cloud your sight. Yet in every chapter, my hand never trembled and my pen never lifted from the page. The heavenly door you're about to walk through did not appear. Suddenly, it is the result of a straight line of love I drew from the beginning. A line that passed through even the turns you yourself did not understand. So today, when I say, the door is open, I do not speak as some distant deity who suddenly changed his mind. I speak as a father completing a moment he has long dreamed of. Beloved, I know there is a part of your heart that still wonders, if the door is open, will I have the courage to step through? You look at yourself and see only weariness, quiet fractures, disappointments that made you shrink back. You fear that when the door opens, all those weaknesses will be exposed and will somehow spoil the good I am giving you. But I declare to you, this heavenly door does not open to expose your lack, it opens to reveal my fullness. I am not waiting for you to become strong before inviting you in. I open the door so that my presence may be made powerful in the very places where you feel fragile. You have grown accustomed to believing that doors of opportunity out in the world depend on how impressive you are, how flawless your performance is, or what you can prove. But this is not the narrow door of human opportunity, it is the wide door of divine grace. When you step in, you will not enter with a resume in your hand, but with empty palms open to receive. And those empty palms will keep you from losing yourself when blessings pour down. I allowed you to walk through seasons of lack, not because I delighted in your pain, but so your hands would learn to cling to nothing but me, so that when the door opened, you would not bow to the gift, but lift your face to the giver. The fear of not being enough that you carry is not a key, nor a condition that shifts my heart. It is merely the noise of the enemy, attempting to contradict what I have long written over you. I call you right now not to re-examine every weakness, but to look at my faithfulness, not to ask, "Am I worthy?" but to ask, "What has he spoken?" For it is my word, not your worthiness, that forms the foundation of this open door. There were years when you thought you were standing before a wall with no exit, pounding your hands against cold stone with no reply. But from my view, that was the season when I was building a doorway inside that very wall, measuring its height and width with precision to fit the shape of your soul. I do not use the same doorway for everyone. I tailor the path to the story I am writing through your life. To the wounds I will one day turn into flowing oil. To the sleepless nights I will transform into mornings of praise. When you wept over a lost job, a broken relationship, an opportunity that slipped away, you saw only closure. But I was redirecting your gaze from doors built by human hands, drawing you nearer to the doorway I was crafting for you upon the rock. The places where you thought, "There's no way forward," protected you from rushing into hallways that would never lead to the season I ordained. The delays you resented were the very things shielding you from stepping into rooms that would have suffocated your soul. Now, when I say the heavenly door has opened, you will not dash inside in panic, fearing it might shut again at any moment. You will walk with the steady confidence of one who knows they are being led to the right place, at the right time, for the right purpose. You do not need to compare the size of your door with anyone else's, for what I open for you bears the fingerprint of your very soul. If you try to squeeze through someone else's door, you will always feel either too small or too constrained. Let your heart breathe in this truth. You are not in the wrong room, not late, not lost. You are standing at the very threshold I marked for you from the beginning, and I am right beside you to lead you through. I want you to pay attention to something your hurried mind often overlooks. The heavenly door does not open only forward toward your future. It also opens a new vantage point for you to look back at your past. When I open this door, the light does not merely shine on what is coming, it floods backward, streaming through the dark corridors you once walked, revealing the places where I held you, carried you, and quietly redirected your steps. How many times have you wondered why an accident never happened? Why a small encounter turned into a turning point? Why a casual word became the hinge that bent the direction of your life, my child? All of these were traces of me, gently guiding you closer and closer to this very door. I do not meet you only at the destination. I have walked with you through every step, whether you realized it or not. And when the door opens, I want you not only to rejoice over what is new, but to breathe out a deep gratitude as you recognize that I never abandoned you on any of the roads behind you. The wounds you once thought were meaningless disasters now appear under a different light. They become proof that you survived, that I preserved you, that what should have broken you instead softened you and made you deeper. The opening of heaven's door is also the healing of memory. It allows you to revisit past chapters without being choked by regret, shame, or the haunting question, what if, when I say, your season of fulfillment cannot be stopped? I speak not only of future promises but of my act of restoring meaning to the years you thought were wasted. No season is excluded from my plan. There are only seasons whose full picture you have not yet seen. Therefore, my child, today I speak to you with gentle authority. You do not need to struggle one more time to open heaven. You only need to learn to stand still in the truth that heaven is already open. Let your mind slow down long enough to notice that the subtle signals around you, a door that seems to open by coincidence, a brief conversation that makes your heart light up, an idea that suddenly feels breathed upon, are not strokes of luck, but signs that the spiritual atmosphere around you has shifted. You are not suddenly more fortunate. You are stepping into a realm where my word moves more clearly, where what I promised long ago begins to align like the final pieces of a great mosaic. I do not require you to understand every detail of my plan, because if you could grasp it in full, it would no longer be the plan of the infinite. I simply invite you to place one foot in front of the other in obedience to allow me to lead, to trust that even your smallest steps carry weight when they are placed in the light of a door already open. Do not despise the humble beginnings. Do not assume heaven is still closed just because you do not see a dramatic explosion. Sometimes the way I prove heaven is open is by giving you a peace so deep that no storm can lift it out of your chest. You do not need to strain yourself to keep this door open. It is anchored by my covenant, not by your emotions. Let your breath find its rhythm again as you realize my plan for you is not suspended halfway, and heaven's door is not stuck in between. It is open, and you are invited to step through not as a beggar, but as a child returning home. I tell you this is not a random opportunity passing by like the endless stream of posts you scroll through. This is a point of intersection between heaven and earth, where I come down and place my hand upon the story of your life. Some moments may look ordinary on the surface, but in the unseen realm, they are marked with light, recorded as milestones on the timeline of the Spirit, and this is one of those moments. You may be sitting in your familiar room, surrounded by objects that seem insignificant, but I say this place is becoming an altar of encounter, the very spot where I step into the smallness of your space and turn it into a refuge of my presence. You thought you needed to go somewhere sacred, attend a special service, or enter the right environment before heaven could open. But my child, I am not confined to church walls or meeting hours. I choose the place where you are breathing right now, and I place my mark upon it. As you hear these words, you think you are simply receiving encouragement, but in truth your soul is standing at a crossroads between what has been and what I am stirring, between accumulated weariness and the flow of life descending from heaven. This is not coincidence. This is an appointed hour that I have quietly orchestrated, where layers of meaning overlap to form a now you will remember for a long time. I did not send you a pretty idea. I am placing on you a word with weight, with the power to change your trajectory, with the authority to sever the cycles you thought you would never escape. Let your spirit discern the difference. This is not a line of text passing through your mind. It is a point of contact where heaven touches the core of your story. You remember the man burdened with sin and exhaustion, who, in the night of his escape, stopped on a barren stretch of ground, used a stone as his pillow, and lay down with fear, tightening his chest that night. Jacob did not seek a spiritual experience. He did not enter a blazing revival meeting. He was simply trying to survive the night. Yet it was precisely when he was depleted that I opened heaven above him. I showed him a ladder set upon the earth, with its top reaching the heavens, angels ascending and descending upon it, and I stood above it to speak my eternal covenant. When he woke, he trembled and said, "Surely the Lord is in this place." And I did not know it, and he named that place Bethel, the house of God. My child, you resemble Jacob more than you think. You lie on your familiar bed, sit on that worn-out chair, surrounded by a tangled schedule, and you sigh, thinking this is just another night passing. But I declare the very place you thought was a temporary wasteland, I am turning into the Bethel of your life. The meeting point between heaven and earth does not always come with lightning and thunder. Sometimes it arrives as a well-timed whisper, a paragraph that pierces deep, an unexpected awareness that I am here. You once read the story of that ladder as something that happened to someone else, in another age, but today I tell you to look again. That ladder is being set up right in your room, connecting your weariness to my throne, your sighs to my voice. I am breathing over your life a wind that cannot be seen with human eyes but can be clearly felt by the soul that is willing to grow still. It is not loud like a storm nor forceful like a violent gust, but like the soft morning breeze slipping through a half-opened window, touching the skin gently, not knocking you down but making you aware that you are still alive. This spiritual breeze carries the fragrance of a new season, the scent of damp soil after the first rain, of tender leaves breaking through dry branches, of the things I am doing, even though your eyes have only caught faint traces. You have grown accustomed to recognizing me only when something dramatic happens, an obvious miracle, a door that swings open with force, a thunderous answer. But my child, before everything bursts forth, I often come as a quiet wind, signaling that the atmosphere has already changed. If you would pause for a moment in the rush that sweeps you along, you would notice your breathing begin to change, deeper, slower, less clenched, less strained. That is not merely you calming down by self-soothing. It is my spirit gently stirring the weary curtains that have covered your mind, opening a small slit for the first light of a new day to slip through. The meeting point between heaven and earth may feel as quiet as a small room when you read my words, but in the spiritual realm, it is the place where my wind is already shifting the heavy clouds that have hovered over you for years. Do not underestimate a gentle breeze from it. The strong winds of breakthrough are born. What I am doing today is not just brushing lightly to comfort you. I am planting a new marker in the spiritual atmosphere surrounding your life. You think you are simply in a flow of inspiration, but in reality, this is a junction, an exact coordinate marked on the spiritual map where angels receive orders to move according to the plan I have drawn for you. When I say this is the meeting point between heaven and earth, it means I am pulling your private, quiet, often tangled story into the larger current of my intention for this generation. You are not merely being relieved so you can breathe a little easier. You are being touched so you can be fitted into a new position, where what I do in you will continue to flow through others, like water moving through a riverbed rather than stagnating into a lifeless pool. You often think, I'm just a small person in my little corner. How could I ever be the meeting point of something so great? But, my child, Jacob was nothing more than a fugitive in the night, carrying nothing notable but a tattered cloak and a troubled past. And yet the place where he lay became a covenant landmark. I do not choose meeting points based on how bright the surface looks. I choose the place where a heart can still whisper, Lord, help me. Even in exhaustion, you are that person. My child, I need you to understand that when I touch your life story at this meeting point, I am not merely adjusting a few small details to make life a bit easier. I am redirecting the entire path. A meeting point always brings a new turning where you were once moved by habit. You will begin to walk by the prompting within, where you once made choices out of fear. You will begin to choose based on the trust that I go before you. The wind of my spirit does more than dry your tears. It sweeps away the old thoughts that have imprisoned you in self-limitation. I'm not worthy. I'm just ordinary. This is all I'll ever be. When heaven touches earth, those sentences lose their power. Because you begin to hear my whisper more clearly. You are mine. You are chosen. You are standing exactly where I want you to be. This meeting point does not ask you to perform or impress. It invites you to lay every mask down so I can touch you as you truly are, unpainted, unpolished, unguarded. When you allow me to reach the places you're most ashamed of, I transform them into the very places where I lay my anointing. The parts that once made you bow your head become the strongest parts of your testimony. From this meeting point, not only your outer direction changes, but the way you see yourself before me is renewed. Therefore, my child, honor this moment not by trying to feel something intense, but by opening your heart to the truth. I am here, right now, in this space, and I have not come empty-handed. Let my words slip past the layer of thought and reach the deeper place, the place where you once hid your fear of being forgotten, the doubt that your life held nothing special. I tell you that the meeting point between heaven and earth does not exist only on ancient pages. It is happening in the rhythm of your life today, amid bills, calls, meetings, half-finished meals. I am turning the dry soil of the ordinary into a place where signs from heaven begin to sprout, a door that opens at the exact moment. A person who appears as if sent, a new idea that rises within you, and you know it did not come from you alone. These are not coincidences. They are the result of my footsteps entering the ground called your story. From now on, as you walk, you are no longer someone reaching up toward heaven from below. You are one who carries the imprint of a divine touch, the place where heaven bent low and pressed the kiss of covenant upon your forehead. Let your chest widen and your breath deepen. For you no longer live in a story cut off from heaven. You live in a story that has been reconnected. My child, I speak this plainly to you. The door has opened by faith, not by feeling. You do not need to feel strong, energized, or spiritually vibrant to step through. You only need to know the truth of what has already taken place in the unseen realm. There will be days you wake with a heavy chest, a tired mind, burning eyes, and you wonder why you still feel so weak if heaven has truly opened. But I tell you, emotional intensity is not the measure of spiritual reality. What I decree does not rise and fall with the tides of your mood. Heaven does not shut just because you had an exhausting evening or an uninspired morning. When I say the door has opened, it has opened in the spiritual realm long before you sense even a trace of relief. You still see a dark room, but in the unseen, the light has turned on. You still hear the voice of doubt inside, but in the invisible world, the sea has already parted. Your hand still trembles as you lift a cup of water, but in my plan, you are already standing on new ground. What I do does not depend on whether your feelings are rising or sinking. Faith is not a surge of emotion, but the steady anchor that my word stands firm, no matter how your heart is wavering. I know there are nights when you sit at the edge of your bed, the room lit only by a dim yellow lamp, and your mind feels like it is falling into a bottomless hollow. You ask, if the door is truly open, why do I still feel useless? Why does everything still feel heavy? Why do I still feel like yesterday's version of me? But I say feelings are not evidence of truth. Truth is the light that reveals feelings for what they are. Your emotions are like morning mist, dense, but fleeting. The moment the sun rises, they dissolve. The truth I speak is like bedrock, unmoving despite how many times the wind shifts. You feel darkness, but that darkness is merely the shadow of the old withdrawing. You hear the whispers of fear, but they are only the final noise of a door that has already been defeated before it shuts forever. I do not require you to feel everything instantly. I only need you to know that even at your weakest emotional moment, heaven remains open, not because you are strong, but because I am faithful, not because you are eager, but because my word does not change, not because you feel spiritual, but because my covenant stands above every fluctuation in your heart. You must understand this. Emotions are like the surface of the sea, but faith is like the bedrock beneath. The surface shifts, calm then stormy, clear then restless, smooth then raging, but the bedrock does not move. You often look at the water and assume it is reality, but the true reality lies deeper. Now I am calling you to live from the bedrock, not the surface. There will be days you feel like you're sinking, but in truth, your feet are still standing on the bedrock of my word. There will be mornings you awaken with the thought, today won't be any better. Yet in heaven, your story is advancing. There will be moments when you sit in a dark room, the hallway light slipping through a thin crack under the door, your heart hollow like the empty room, and you think, how can I step into something new when I feel this weak? But my child, it is in that very dark room that the door of heaven has already opened. Not after you improve, not after your tears stop, not after you regain your confidence, but right there while you sit with your back against the wall, breathing heavily, seeing no sign of hope. Heaven does not wait for you to feel better. Heaven moves when I decide the time has come. Remember the nights when you lay on your side, on a pillow already soaked with tears, staring into the vast darkness stretched across the ceiling, weighed down by a sense of failure you didn't dare share with anyone. You didn't believe in yourself. You questioned your worth. You wondered if you would have to carry everything alone forever. In those moments, your emotions said, nothing is changing. But I declared, everything is shifting. Your emotions said, you're only dreaming. I said, this is my decree. Your emotions said, you're too weak. I said, in that very weakness, my power is made perfect. The darkness said, you've been left behind. I said, I am here, right beside you. Emotions are not the enemy, they're simply not the compass. The true compass is my word, and my word says the door is already open. Emotions shift by the day and by the hour. My decree does not change through 1,000 generations. My child, light and darkness do not fight on the same battlefield. Light doesn't need to shout to win, it only needs to appear. One small beam makes darkness tremble. Likewise, a tiny spark of faith in you, a faint thought whispering, maybe God really is doing something, is enough to split the spiritual atmosphere and clear a path. You think you must feel strong to be worthy of heaven's movement. But the truth is, I act even when you are so weak, you can only utter one sentence, Lord, help me. You look at yourself and see cracks, but I look at you and see the places where light enters. You see the night, but I see the dawn rising just beyond the horizon. You read signs through your senses, but I read them through eternal truth. And the truth is this: the door opens by faith, not by emotion. What I do does not require evidence from your emotional realm. It is established by the realm of my word, which is firmer than the heavens themselves. Remember the days when you truly no longer believed in yourself, those days when you stood in front of the mirror and didn't recognize the eyes looking back at you. You smiled at others out of habit, but in your private room, all you wanted was to turn off every light and disappear. Those moments never caused me to withdraw my promise. On the contrary, it is in those moments that true faith, though as small as a mustard seed, shines the brightest. Faith is not feeling strong. Faith is choosing to take a step while you are weak. Faith is not excitement. Faith is steadiness in silence. Faith is not a soaring sensation. Faith is knowing that even when you tremble, my word does not tremble with you. You can sit in a dark room, heavy-hearted, hands cold, and even in that state, you can step through the door I opened, because faith is not stored in your hands or in your emotions, but in the certainty that God has spoken. So, my child, when darkness comes, do not rush to conclude that the door has closed. Darkness is not the sign of delay. Often, it is the moment right before the dawn breaks open. Your emotions today do not have the authority to define what I am doing. The only voice with authority is mine, and I declared from the beginning, the door is open. You don't need to wait until your mood settles, your heart feels lighter, and your fears quiet down before you dare step in. You step, and the fear falls off. You rise, and strength follows. You choose to believe, and your emotions learn to follow. Do not let the darkness around your eyes convince you to doubt the light I have already ignited. The darkness in your room cannot diminish the light of heaven, and that heavenly light is streaming over your life right now. No matter how shattered your heart feels, my child, I speak to you from the very place where my words have been sown into your heart. Over the years, you are stepping into a season of fulfillment, not a handful of small things to make you temporarily happy, not crumbs to help you barely believe. Heaven still remembers you, but the very promises I have spoken long ago, the ones that have been resting deep in the spiritual realm, waiting for the moment, I would say, now is the time. Those promises were never lost in the wind, never buried beneath the seasons when you were exhausted, never forgotten under the wounds that made you think I had left. I kept them carefully, like precious seeds hidden in the soil, silent but alive, unseen but rising with a rhythm that belongs to eternity, not to the fleeting emotions you feel. And now, you are entering the appointed moment when the seed breaks through, piercing dry ground, pushing past stones of doubt, rising through every season you believed you had failed. You are not touching a random miracle. You are touching the ripe fruit of years I have guarded in secret. I want you to notice this. My child, fulfillment does not arrive when you feel ready. It arrives when I know every piece of your story has matured enough not to be lost to panic or impatience. There were years when you thought you were standing still, but your roots were digging deeper into layers of soil you could not see. There were months you thought you were moving backward, but I was pulling you away from paths that would have destroyed the very promise I wanted to give you. There were days you wanted to surrender, but in those very days, your faith, small as an evening breath, was weaving the foundation upon which this season would stand. Nothing I led you through was wasted. Every slow curve in the road was needed to bring you to the center of this moment. Therefore, do not think this season is just a pleasant surprise. It is heaven's response to the prayers you prayed in exhaustion, to the tears you cried when no one was there, to the nights when all you could whisper was, Lord, please don't leave me. You must understand, the fulfillment I bring is not like the enough the world promises. The world gives scraps, so you continue depending on it, but I fulfill so your soul can stand upright without bowing to any idol. When I open a way in the wilderness, no one can call it coincidence. When I bring water from the rock, no one can claim the credit. When I stop the cloud and lead by fire, no one can say it was strategy. Likewise, your season of fulfillment will bear my fingerprints so clearly that when people see what unfolds, they will say, "Only God could have done this." You will not need to explain, defend, or prove anything. The door you walk through does not require you to push. It opens by my word, not your skill. The connections you gain will not require you to fight. I place them where they belong. Even the things you believed were dead dreams you buried. Hopes you no longer dared to pray about, I will call them back to life with the same power that brought Lazarus out of the tomb. My child, I want you to hear this clearly so your mind does not fall back into old patterns of doubt. This is not a handful of nice signs to cheer you up. This is not temporary brightness. This is a season continuous, deep, steady, expansive, not a momentary spark that flickers and dies. There are moments when I touch you to comfort, but there are seasons when I touch you to shift everything. And you are standing at the threshold of such a season. A season of fulfillment means the scattered pieces of your life, your work, your finances, your relationships, your spirit, your identity begin aligning according to my order. The things that once clashed begin to harmonize. The doors that once stayed shut begin to open in unison. The words that once seemed impossible return to your heart with new strength. What I declared long ago will no longer remain as spiritual notes in your journal. It will step into reality. You will see it with your eyes. You will hold it in your hands. You will tell it with your own breath. But, my child, I also want you to know this: when the season of fulfillment arrives, it does not come like a gentle afternoon rain. It comes like a forceful stream that compels the dry ground to give way. It shatters old structures, the ways you perceive yourself, the limits you've placed on your own life, the habits you've been afraid to release, and the patterns of thought that have caused you to shrink back for years. I do not merely fulfill my word in your circumstances, I fulfill my word within you, and this means you will feel subtle, spiritual tremors, unexpected shifts, new awareness, endings you never anticipated. Things I close decisively, so I may open something greater. Do not fear if things no longer move in the sequence you're used to. Remember this: I fulfill according to the order of heaven, not the schedule you write. I see the whole tapestry. You only see fragment by fragment. So when everything in your life begins to move, understand that this is not chaos. It is the sign that the season of fulfillment is covering you like the morning cloud upon Mount Sinai. My beloved child, do not keep a small heart when you step into a great season. You have grown accustomed to living in fear of ruining things, accustomed to calculating every step so as not to be hurt again, accustomed to drawing back because you believe you are too frail to carry something great. But I declare this to you: you do not step into fulfillment because of your strength. You step in because of my faithfulness. You do not carry the promise carries you. You do not sustain the miracle leads you. All I ask is that you walk with the simplicity of one who knows they are loved. This season does not arrive to burden you. It arrives to set you free from the fear that has bound you far too long. It comes so you may see that what I speak is not merely text, it is life. So you may know that what I promise is not just to comfort you, it is to complete you. I speak to you with an authority no power on earth or beneath the earth can oppose. This season cannot be shut. No person, no matter their influence, status, or sharpness of speech, can halt what I have established by my decree. No force of darkness, no matter how long it has circled your soul, can wedge itself between the word I have inscribed in heaven. No circumstance, no matter how disadvantaged, scarce, tangled, or unpredictable, carries enough strength to reverse the river I have released over your life. When I speak, the spiritual realm shifts. When I speak, angels receive orders. When I speak, doors you never touched swing open. And when I speak, doors you pounded on until you had no strength left, if I do not will them open, remain closed to protect you. My child, this season is opened by my word, not by human hands. And because of that, no one can lock what I have appointed from eternity. I want you to see this through a simple, vivid image. Strong waves may roar through the whole night, but they can never stop the sunrise. The waves may rise high, may be fierce, may crash against the rocks as if trying to erase everything in their path. But the sun still rises on time, not because the sky is fortunate, but because I established that order from the beginning. Likewise, the noises that rush into your life, the worries, the criticisms, the failures, the places where you thought you had been pushed aside may rumble like the night waves, but they cannot stop the sun I am causing to rise in your story. You may hear the waves louder than you hear hope, but their noise does not delay even 1 second of the moment I have promised. You may feel threatened, but the sun is still breaking forth behind the horizon of your life. No howl of darkness is large enough to erase the first ray of my word. And when my light appears, the darkness has only one task: to retreat. My beloved child, I want you to remember my word through the prophet Isaiah, for it is the golden standard for the moment you are living in. My word that goes out from my mouth will not return to me empty. It will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. Isaiah 5:5-1:1. My word does not return void. Not ever. Not once. You must let this truth seep deeper than your fear, deeper than your wounded memories, deeper than the times you believed you were forgotten. My word runs like living water, unblocked by stone, unhindered by walls, undiminished by the things that once shattered you. It goes straight to the place I send it, and when it arrives, it expands, bears fruit, transforms circumstances, and rebuilds souls. This season does not depend on how well you keep the promise. It depends on my word, and my word never fails. I know there are moments when you look around and see nothing but resistance. You see people who do not believe in you. You hear the dismissive remarks, the skeptical eyes, the words that make you shrink inside. You feel familiar, doors close, conversations dissolve, support evaporate. You conclude, maybe this season will be delayed, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I need to start over. But my child, none of these things have the authority to define a season. They cannot write even a single line of your destiny. They do not hold the keys to heaven's doors. They carry only noise. I carry the decree. And in the battle between human noise and my word always wins. I do not need a crowd to affirm what I have begun in you. I only need myself, and my will has never failed since the dawn of creation. You may also fear the forces of darkness, the unseen attacks, the heaviness that makes you feel as though something is trying to sabotage your plans. But my child, the realm of darkness does not stand on the same plane of authority as I do. It cannot touch a decree I have sealed. It may stir the winds, but it cannot redirect the sun. It may raise the waves, but it cannot stop the ocean from retreating when the sunrise commands it. It may attempt to confuse you, but it cannot halt the blessing advancing toward you along the path I have carved. It may make you feel slowed, but it cannot alter what I have ordained for this season. Every power of darkness is limited. My power is absolute. My child, even your circumstances hold no right to obstruct this outpouring. Finances may be tight, but they cannot lock a door I have opened. Time may feel late in human eyes, but it never delays my plan. You may be tired, worn, shattered, empty of ideas, but none of these things are strong enough to make me change my mind. A cracked field cannot forbid the rain. A weary heart cannot block the life I breathe into it. This season arrives not because conditions are favorable, but because I have summoned it. You are not dragging the season down. The season descends on its own under my command. And when I say no one can shut it, I am declaring a divine shield around the promise you carry. I seal off every wrong interference. I block every strike at the crucial moment. I raise spiritual firewalls around the paths I open for you. Nothing can slip in. Nothing can be switched. Nothing can be destroyed. Therefore, my beloved child, let your heart rest in this truth. You do not have to fight to keep this season open. You only need to follow my leading. If waves rise, let them rise. If people doubt, let them doubt. If circumstances do not match your feelings, do not be shaken. This season has been sealed by me, not by the fragile words of men, but by the decree of the Creator Himself. When I open, no one can close. When I close, no one can open. This is an unchanging law in the spiritual realm, and it is unfolding right now within your very story. My child, I say to you, fulfillment does not arrive like a sudden flash of lightning, nor as a scattered miracle you grasp, for only to be left uncertain about what to do next. It comes through a sacred process, a journey I authored long ago, where every step you take rests upon the holy map I have spread before you. I do not transport you from waiting to fulfillment with a rushed leap. I lead you, as I once led a nation, out of desolate wilderness and into the promised land, day by day, stage by stage, through movements only I could see in full. You do not enter this season by luck or coincidence. You walk into it by the precise order I designed. Like the way light moves from dawn to noon, growing brighter, clearer, stronger, never late by a minute and never early by a second. Just as Israel once stood at the banks of the Jordan, you too are standing at the edge of something you have never known, never touched, never imagined could belong to you. When they saw the rushing waters, they did not see a crossing, they saw an impossible barrier. And so have you. Many times you have faced your own river's discouragement, disappointment, lack, emotional wounds, and wondered, how can I cross this? But, beloved, Israel did not need to know how to split a river. They only needed to step when I said, step. You do not have to carry a strategy to open the way. You only have to follow my steps. When the priest's feet touched the waters parted not because they were strong, but because my presence went before them. In the same way, your fulfillment does not wait for you to become strong or flawless. It requires only one thing that you step at, my word. Remember this. Child Israel did not walk from the desert into the promise in a single breath. They passed through roads I used to refine them to teach them to trust my voice above their emotions, to discern me amid the noise, to learn that every miracle came not from their strength but from my hand. Likewise, the years you thought you were just waiting were years I was preparing your soul to stand firm when fulfillment comes. Blessing does not sustain you simply because it arrives. You must have roots. Honey draws the bee. But only sturdy branches can hold the hive. If I had brought you into your season of fulfillment while your spirit was still fragile, you would have feared, doubted, or even dropped what I intended to give you. So I led you through seasons that felt dry so your heart would learn to look to me before it looks to circumstances, to rely on me before relying on outcomes. Every road you walked, thorny or barren, became the soil in which I prepared to plant this fulfillment. Now, my child, like Israel standing before the water, you are at the threshold between waiting and fulfillment. But here is what is different. You will not enter this promised place in panic or in the frantic fear you once carried. You will step in with peace. For I go before you. You will not step reluctantly, but with the conviction, the appointed time has come, and you will not step alone. The waters you see may still look strong, deep, and intimidating in human eyes. But beloved, waters do not part when you see them. They part when your feet step in. The promised land does not appear when you observe. It appears when you advance. What I am bringing you into is not an empty place. It is a land where I have long awaited you, where harvests are ready that you did not sow, where walls stand that you did not have to build, where I have cleared out what does not belong so there is room for what does. This is not a vague territory. It is a marked portion of my plan bearing your very name. My beloved child, you must understand this deeply. The sacred process never misses its timing. I am neither hurried nor delayed. When I led Israel through the wilderness, it was not the wrong route. It was the right road so they would not collapse when facing enemies too soon. When I led you through dark seasons, you thought I had forgotten you, but I was shielding you from battles that would have crushed you then. When I allowed you to sit in prolonged silence, you thought I wasn't listening, but I was building within you a heart that will not waver when you enter fulfillment. The process has shaped you, so the promised land no longer intimidates you and the desert no longer makes you doubt. You are standing at the Jordan of your own life. You see the rushing waters, but I see the dry ground on the other side. You see hesitation in your step, but I see the day you will possess all that I have promised. You hear voices telling you, you are not enough. But I hear the promised land calling you by the very name I gave you. And as you step forward, you will witness what my people once witnessed: waters splitting wide, ground turning firm beneath your feet, the way opening as though it had always existed, and you will not enter, feeling like a stranger, but with the profound recognition this is where you belong. My child, the fulfillment I am bringing is not for you to watch from a distance. It is for you to walk in, not for you to hope for from afar. It is for you to hold in your hands, not for you to dream about. It is for you to live in day by day. I lead you not as a traveler discovering a strange land, but as an heir returning to the portion that is rightfully yours. The promised land will not make you feel out of place. It will remind you of who you truly are. I have seen your hidden seasons, the ones no one praised, no one noticed, no one stood beside you for, but I saw them clearer than daylight. I saw you sitting alone in the dark room while the world slept, your hands trembling from exhaustion, yet still holding on to the small prayer. Lord, please don't leave me. I saw your eyes reddened from long nights awake, trying to understand why you felt delayed while the world around you raced ahead. I saw every heavy breath, every unspoken thought, every quiet attempt to remain calm while your heart felt like it might break. And beloved, I never took my eyes off you in those moments. Do not mistake my silence for absence. My silence was how I sat close enough not to startle you. I saw the seasons when you tried to stand firm while you were far weaker inside than anyone knew. When you smiled so others wouldn't worry. I did not see deception, I saw a survival strategy. When you chose kindness while you were hurting, I did not see weakness, I saw a holy strength only souls who have walked through darkness can carry. When you took one more step, even though no one was cheering for you, I saw each step as a trumpet sound in the spiritual realm. The things you considered small have been written into heaven's record, not a single moment dismissed, not a single tear forgotten. My child, I see the seasons in which you were misunderstood, the seasons when you sowed what was good but received only silence, the seasons when you sacrificed and no one knew enough to say thank you. I see you trying to explain yourself, yet the words get stuck in your throat. I see you wanting to love but afraid of being taken advantage of, wanting to trust but afraid of being hurt, wanting to step forward but afraid of repeating the old pain. I have seen it all not to accuse you, but to protect you from the harshness of this world. I see what others do not see, faithfulness hidden in silence, patience inside your pain, kindness in the middle of your brokenness, and I treasure these like jewels being polished in the dark. I see the seasons when you believe you are invisible. You stand in the middle of a crowd and feel as though no one even knows you exist. You work, you love, you try, you sacrifice, and yet no one stops to ask, "Are you okay?" But my child, I see everything others overlook. When you sit alone and ask, "Does anyone see me at all?" I am standing right there, whispering. I saw you before you even spoke. I see the way you shrink back so you won't bother anyone, the way you try to heal yourself with tired hands, the way you get up every morning even though the night before you almost gave up. I see the resilience you never name, and I call it hidden glory. And I see the seasons when you think you have failed, when you fall short of your own expectations, when plans collapse, when doors slam shut in your face, when you are convinced you have taken the wrong path. I see the self-blame gnawing at you, the "I'm not good enough, I'm not holy enough, I'm not strong enough" you speak over yourself. But, my child, I do not look at you through the lens of failure. I look at you through the lens of process. I do not see you falling because you are weak. I see you being shaped. I do not see you being stopped because you are incompetent. I see myself protecting you from what is not yet in season. The things you label as failures are simply parts of the process I am using to bring you into the exact place of fulfillment. My child, I see all of those seasons, the seasons no one witnessed. No one applauded. No one came close, and it is exactly those hidden seasons that are becoming the foundation for what I am about to do. The seasons in which you felt yourself grow smaller are the very seasons in which I inscribed greatness deep into your soul. The seasons you call silent are actually the seasons in which I am writing the most important chapters of your story. And when heaven's door opens, as it is opening even now, it will be those quiet seasons that enable you to stand firm, at peace, unafraid in the very fulfillment I am leading you into. I have been preparing you through the failures you thought were meaningless, through the collapses you believed heaven ignored, through the missteps you assumed had disqualified you from the journey. But my child, in my eyes, not a single fall of yours is wasted. Not one stumble is useless. Not one season of confusion is thrown away. I gather every fragment you are ashamed to hide and place each one precisely where it belongs in the foundation I am building for your life. Look at your life as a spiritual construction site. where I am both the architect and the builder of each part. There are days when all you see are scattered bricks, wet cement, and dust blurring your vision. You conclude your life is an unfinished project, ugly, incomplete, and going nowhere. But I see it differently. I see every brick you lay with tears. I see every layer of cement you mix with your fragile efforts. I see every frame raised out of moments when you failed but still chose to stand up again. I see. Everything you call a messed up life is in fact resting within a complete design that only I can see from beginning to end. My child, you often view failure as a full stop, but I see it as building material. You think your steps backward prove your inadequacy, but I use those very backward steps to deepen your foundation. You feel that the seasons of wandering are just a waste of time, but I use them as cement to bind together the scattered parts of your inner life. You are ashamed of your breakdowns, yet I turn those cracks into the very places where my light seeps in. No part is discarded. No day is meaningless. No mistake lies beyond my power to rebuild. Think of a house before it is beautiful. It must pass through an ugly stage clutter everywhere. Wet concrete, bare bricks, exposed wires, rough walls. That is the stage when you dare not invite anyone to look, and you yourself do not want to look for long. But my child, that is the most important stage. If the foundation is not deep, the walls not solid, the frame not strong, then no matter how lovely the roof looks, it will collapse. The messy and pointless failures you see are in fact the quiet but essential phase in which I am laying the foundation so deep that no storm will be able to knock you down when fulfillment comes. I do not build your life on your victories, because your victories change with the seasons. I build your life on my faithfulness, and I use both victory and failure to create a foundation that cannot be shaken. Do not despise the days you call useless. It is precisely in those days that I am setting the load-bearing beams that will keep you steady in the season of blessing. So then, my child, when I bring you into fulfillment, you will realize your strength does not come from success, but from every fall where I lifted you back up. Your maturity does not come from ease, but from the nights you thought you would collapse. And your faith does not come from emotion, but from knowing that I have never, not even for a single second, taken my hand off the construction site of your life. And when those seemingly meaningless bricks begin to lock into place, you will recognize what you once doubted. Every process I build is measured not only by the strength you possess, but by the timing I choose. That timing has never been off. There were days you thought the good things should have come earlier, so you wouldn't be so exhausted, but if they had come while your roots were still shallow, the blessing would have become a burden. There were also days you feared you were already too late, as though the door had long since closed. But you did not know that heaven's clock runs on a different rhythm, a rhythm your impatience cannot push forward and your anxiety cannot pull back. In the silence of what you call delay, I am aligning invisible gears, like a watchmaker patiently adjusting every tick so that, at the exact moment, the hour hand moves into place without deviation. The time I appoint is never extended by the resistance of circumstances, nor shortened by your urgency. It is as precise as a seed that breaks through the soil only when the ground is soft enough and the first rains have fallen not earlier, to wither in heat, and not later, to rot beneath the surface. So it is with what I give you. It blooms in the right season, grows at the right pace, and blossoms on the appointed day. Many times you have looked at your life and asked, "Why not yet?" But that question cannot measure the work I am doing beneath the surface of your soul. There are moments when I hold you back, not to prolong your disappointment, but to protect you from blooming too soon. The blossoming that comes from me must be paired with the strength to carry it, and that strength can only come from foundations dug deep through the very things you once called meaningless. When the moment I have marked resounds in the unseen realm, no power can delay it, and when that signal has not yet sounded, no force can make it happen before its time. Pay attention. My child, the things I prepare always come by their own paths, unlike anyone else's, untimed by anyone else's calendar, untouched by the pressure of comparison. Just as two seeds can lie in the same soil yet emerge in two different seasons according to their design, you too carry a distinct season I appointed before you ever took your first breath. So when you see others stepping into open doors, do not fear that you have been forgotten. You are not behind, you are being timed. And when that time comes, you will see everything that once resisted you suddenly shift aside like stones being rolled away from the path. You will see things that should have taken 3 years unfold in 3 days. You will see doors that once remained firmly shut swing open as though they had been waiting for your footsteps alone. This is not luck. It is the intersection between the timing I ordained and the process I have been building within you. Therefore, do not fear my slowness. I am not slow. I am precise, and I have never misplaced a single second of your life, because my timing is always so exact. You never enter any season alone. What is about to unfold before your eyes will not come from your solitary effort, but from my presence that has gone ahead of you. You often think you must find the way yourself. Knock on the doors. Persuade. Withstand pressure, but you do not know that I have already placed my footprints on that path long before, so that every step you take is merely walking upon a road already cleared. What you are about to witness is not you breaking a door open, but you stepping into a door already opened. What you are about to hold is not something you earned by your own strength, but something I placed in your hand before you even knew you needed it. My presence does not follow behind you. My presence leads. Just as I declared in Exodus 3:14, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Do you know what that means? It means the conversations you fear will close. I have already softened the hearts involved. The doors you think must be knocked on endlessly, I have already placed the key into the hand of the right person. The places you expect to be harsh, I have already lined with my peace so that you will not be wounded in the shift of seasons. I go before you, not to remove all difficulty, but so that what you face is shaped by my presence rather than by your fear. You once thought my preparation was invisible, but it is far more evident than you realize. Every time your heart is suddenly at peace, though nothing has changed, that is me going before you. Every time a door opens without your effort, that is me going before you. Every time someone treats you with kindness, you cannot explain, that is me touching their heart before you arrive. Every time you enter a new environment and do not feel devoured, that is me laying the ground. You only see the moment you step in, but I have been standing there beforehand, adjusting every detail, placing every element where it belongs, and only then calling you forward. And when you think about the future, you often fear you are not enough, not strong enough, not skilled enough, not confident enough, not holy enough. But you do not see that the strength you carry does not come from yourself, but from the one who goes ahead of you. When I walk before you, opposition no longer retains its full strength. When I walk before you, the traps of the enemy lose their power before you ever arrive. When I walk before you, the doors I want you to enter become natural, not forced. You are not called to carve a way. You are called to walk into the way I have carved. My presence does not merely guide, it reshapes the atmosphere of the places you step into. Rooms once tense will grow light. Encounters once suffocating will soften. Walls once constructed by resistance will begin to crack the moment my hand touches them. You will find yourself astonished that you no longer need to fight to prove your worth, because I have already revealed it before the eyes that needed to see it. You will be surprised that the things you feared were not mountains at all, but only their shadows, for I have stood between you and what once made you tremble. Therefore, you do not need to measure the future by the smallness of your energy. You only need to know this: I never send you into any place where my presence has not arrived first. And what I prepare is always more than what you imagine is possible: more favor, more opportunity, more peace, more support. I always go ahead so you have the strength to continue. And because my presence has gone before you, the space you are stepping into now carries a completely different weight. It is no longer just an ordinary room, nor merely a change of circumstances. It is the place where my glory is descending. You may not have words for it, but your soul knows the air has shifted. The sky feels different. Even the way you stand still is different. Glory is not a fleeting thrill, nor an emotional high you must try to produce. Glory is a weight, a spiritual reality so true that it settles upon the room like cool shade at midday, not loud, not showy, but deep, real, covering, and quieting everything. You are used to thinking that my nearness must be felt through intense emotion, but this season is different. My glory does not arrive like a strong wind rattling the door, but like a quiet breeze cooling your skin when you thought you were about to burn. It is silent, yet heavy, light, yet enduring, unseen, yet instantly recognized by your spirit. When you step into the place where I cause my glory to rest, everything within you suddenly calms, worries shrink, fears withdraw, inner noise dissolves, not because you self-soothed, but because the reality I create is stronger than the one you brought in. You will recognize this shift not by excitement, but by stillness. A room that once seemed ordinary suddenly becomes sacred. A moment that felt random becomes weighted with a presence that makes you bow your head. You do not need to strive to believe, you only need to stand still, and my glory will do the rest. It does not come to decorate, it comes to reshape you. It presses down not to make you smaller, but to cause everything in you that is not of me to melt away under its weight. As when you stand under scorching sunlight and a single step into the shade makes your whole body exhale, the sun remains, but you are covered. My glory does exactly that in the spirit. It does not erase your circumstances instantly, but it lays a covering of presence that strips those circumstances of their power to crush you. In glory, what once made you tremble loses its voice. In glory, the fear that once filled the whole room becomes only a distant echo. In glory, you know you are no longer standing on emotion, but on a spiritual reality that cannot be shaken. And because my glory carries weight, it also carries effect. It changes the way you see, the way you think, the way you breathe, the way you walk. It makes you calm in places where you should have been in panic. It brings softness to the places where you would have recoiled. It makes you stand upright in places where you once bowed your head, not because you have become stronger, but because you are standing under the shadow of the one stronger than everything that has ever pressed upon you. This covering does not come from your effort, it comes from my glory stretching over you like a new canopy of heaven. So when you feel the atmosphere around you grow heavy, do not fear. It is not the weight of life, but the density of my presence, wrapping around the room, wrapping around your heart, wrapping around the very things you are about to step into. My glory is reshaping the environment before you act, so that when you open your mouth, your words carry life. When you step forward, your steps carry authority. When you pray, your petitions carry the weight of heaven. When the old things fall off you and new light begins to pour in, the disturbance you feel is not meaningless chaos. It is darkness reacting to the nearness of your season of fulfillment. There are days when you sense a strange movement not from the outside, but from deep within your soul, as if a gentle whirlwind passes through your mind, making everything tremble in ways you do not understand. You think it is a sign of weakness, but in truth, it is a signal from heaven. The trembling of the earth when a seed is about to break through the soil. When I bring you to a new threshold, the enemy cannot shut the door I opened, but it can stir the surroundings to make you doubt. That is why you see sudden oddities, unexplained fatigue, small misunderstandings that feel heavier than they should, fleeting thoughts that pull you down in a moment. But these things do not appear because you are weaker. They are warning signs, just as the footsteps of an army grow louder right before dawn. The chaos is louder than the night, but it is also a sign that the light is near and victory is not far. A season of fulfillment always has two movements: the movement of my glory and the resistance of the forces that do not want to see you step into what I have ordained. When you feel the wind shift, it is not because you are going the wrong way. It is because they can smell the breath of heaven on the path you are walking. Whirlwinds are strongest when the atmosphere is about to change. Sudden pressures do not come to crush you, but to strip away the last remnants of the old season, so you do not carry into the new land baggage that no longer belongs to you. You used to worry that every recent shaking was a sign that I had distanced myself from you. But, in reality, the closer you are to fulfillment, the more the atmosphere around you vibrates, like a tightened harp string right before it produces the perfect sound. The small attacks arise not because you are lacking, but because what is about to bloom in you is too significant for the enemy to ignore. It strikes not to win, but to intimidate. It stirs not to block, but hoping you will stop yourself at the threshold already open before you. But you will notice something no matter how violently the wind swirls. Your spirit is no longer easily swept away. The separation I performed in the previous season has made you lighter, and because you are lighter, the wind no longer has the authority to steer you. You will stand in the center of the swirl without breaking. You will hear the footsteps of opposition without retreating. You will feel the shaking without collapsing. Because I do not merely open the path, I strengthen your soul so the path cannot swallow you. So do not measure this season by its disturbances. See them as echoes of a battle already lost. When the enemy resists in haste and disorder, it means your season of fulfillment is standing just beyond the boundary so close that it no longer has time to hide its panic over what I am bringing forth in you. The disturbance you are facing is not meant to teach you to react faster, stronger, or more fiercely. It is meant to teach you that the kind of battle I am calling you into does not operate through panic, but through a weapon the world never values: my peace. Not a fragile peace like thin foam, nor the temporary silence after a storm, but a peace with weight, with structure, with power to withstand invisible assaults, a soft armor that no arrow can pierce. You think warfare must involve tension and a racing heartbeat, but my kingdom moves in the opposite rhythm. In the moment the enemy increases noise to unsettle you, I draw you into slower breaths, so your heart is not pulled into the chaos swirling around. Because if panic leads you, you will strike in the direction it wants. But when my peace leads you, you strike precisely where it cannot prevent. My peace does not slow you down, it keeps you accurate. It does not weaken you, it keeps you from wasting strength on what does not matter. There will be moments when the resistance feels as if the whole sky is leaning against you. But that is precisely when I want you to understand that peace is not the reward after the battle. It is the weapon that brings you into the battle. It is like a small lamp in thick darkness. It seems too small to change the scene. Yet, strangely, it illuminates farther than you expect. Because light does not need to be large to defeat darkness. It only needs to be real. Real light carves a path on its own, and real peace protects you on its own. You are used to the image of cold, rigid armor, but the armor I give is different. Peace is a soft armor, so soft that you think it protects nothing, yet so strong that it stops every invisible arrow you never saw coming. Soft armor keeps your heart from hardening in panic, keeps your mind from shattering, keeps your soul from being dragged into battles I never sent you to fight. When every external voice demands your reaction, this armor keeps you still, standing tall, standing true, and that stillness becomes the strongest blow against the opposition. Do you remember Psalm 23? Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. The reason is not that the valley disappears, but that the one who walks with you does not change his pace. My peace does not arrive after you leave the valley. My peace walks with you in the valley. It confuses the enemy because it cannot understand why you are not collapsing. It disarms the battle because it cannot understand why you are not shaken. When my peace covers you, your spirit becomes a sealed room that no external noise can enter. And as you stand in peace, you will begin to see what panic once hid from you. You will see the exit, the direction, the truth. You will recognize that what looked like an attack was only the final wave of a season closing. You will see clearly which voice is true and which is deception. You will realize that I never told you to run. I told you to walk slowly but steadily, walking by my rhythm, not by the rhythm of noise. There will be days when you ask, but why does peace come so gently? Why don't I feel its strength? Because peace does not shake the ground, it shakes the inside of you. It does not startle those around you. It steadies your soul in a way the enemy cannot decipher. Peace does not wear noise, it wears certainty. And what terrifies the enemy most is not your shout, but your silence when you know you are standing in my hands. You once thought victory was found in explosive moments, but victory in my kingdom often looks like a single exhale when you realize you are no longer dragged by every circling wind. Victory looks like choosing not to respond to threatening voices, like walking slowly without fearing you will fall behind, like whispering to me in a dark room and knowing that very whisper shakes the heavens. In this season, what I am teaching you is not strategic technique, but the art of holding peace in any atmosphere. I want your heart to become ground where the enemy cannot sow fear. I want your mind to become a place where every lie bounces off like rain falling on a tiled roof without seeping into the house. I want your soul to become a lived experience of Psalm 23, whether in green pastures or in the shadow of death. You know I am there. This peace will do what you do not expect. It will turn arrows meant to be fatal into insignificance, cause accusations to snap in midair, and force unfinished battles to bow because they no longer find a foothold inside you. Peace does not only protect, it pushes back. It pushes back fear, pushes back doubt, pushes back discouragement, pushes back every force that wants to pull you out of the place I have positioned you in. So when you find yourself calm in a place where you should be afraid, Do not question it. That is the sign that I am fighting for you. My peace is not a luxury, it is a weapon. And when you carry it, you do not merely survive, you stand firm. You see clearly. You bloom in your appointed season. The peace you have just learned carries a quiet consequence stronger than any strategy when you stand firm. The door will open on its own. Not because you push it, not because you gather all your courage to break the lock, and not because you prove yourself worthy to enter. In my kingdom, doors do not open by force, they open by presence and timing. The only thing you must do is stand in the place I have set for you. Everything else is mine. There are moments when you think, my silence means nothing is moving. But in truth, it is within that silence that the invisible structures are shifting subtly, according to my decree. You remain still, but the door moves. You hold your peace, but the latch loosens. You do not lay a hand on anything. Yet the heavy mechanism that once stayed shut bends open, as though it has been waiting for my touch. Like Peter in Acts 12, he did not break the door, nor search for keys. The door opened by itself, as if it recognized he was authorized to pass. This will be your season as well. Things will open not because you are skilled, but because I have decided the time has come. You once feared that if you were not aggressively proactive, you would miss what I prepared. But you are not called to break, you are called to guard the place I positioned you. As long as you stand where I want you, movement will find its way there. As long as you keep your heart tuned to the right frequency, the answer will meet that frequency. As long as you remain in peace, everything that belongs to you will arrive without losing its way. What I open does not need you to bend the frame, it only needs you to stand firm so the door can open according to my command. You think standing still is passive, but in the spiritual realm, standing still where I have spoken is the strongest action you can take. Standing still stops the enemy from pulling you out of the place of fulfillment. Standing still cuts off every agitation trying to push you toward dead-end paths that look impressive but carry no life. Standing still strengthens your inner foundation so that the wide door I open does not become a burden. Standing still is how you proclaim that the opening comes from heaven, not from human effort. And when you stand in the right place, what you thought required struggle will unfold like a breath. Systems you believed needed force to move will begin leaning toward you. Doors that once stayed so tightly shut you thought they would never budge will shift their posture. When I open, you do not hear the hinges screech. You hear peace rising in your chest. When I open, you do not feel tired, you feel light. When I open, you do not sense pressure, you sense assurance. There are things you are waiting for that seem too big to happen gently. But I want you to learn this: the doors of heaven do not open by pulling, they open by command. You cannot accelerate them, but you can stand in the wrong place and miss them. That is why I hold you still, hold you steady, hold you quiet not to delay you, but so you do not move when the door reaches its point of opening. When you feel you are merely standing, do not underestimate those hours. It is in those hours of standing that I am aligning your straight line with the door I have ordained. It is in that stillness that your inner foundation is strengthened, so that when the door opens, you can step through without trembling, without doubting, without shrinking back. Because the door I open always leads to a new expanse of light, and I do not want you entering it breathless. You do not need to knock, or force, or strain. When I open, you simply step through without struggle, without haste, without fear. For the door belongs to me, and the authority to open it is mine. What you hold is the authority to stand, and standing in that peace is the strongest path-clearing act you can offer. The door that is coming for you will feel like Acts 12. It will open without the sound of human hands, without rush, without theatrics. It will open with a certainty that lets you know in that very moment that this is not your doing. This is the sign of heaven. The doors of heaven do not require you to carry perfect confidence. They require only one small step. A step too small for others to call breakthrough. Too quiet to be remembered in history books. Yet enough to touch the decree I have prepared. In my eyes, faith is not measured by the size of emotion, but by the direction of your step. When you take one step toward me trembling, unsure, hesitant, I count it as the shift of an entire season. There are days when your faith is no more than a tired breath, a faint whisper, or a small nod no one sees. Yet I do not need something big in order to do something big. I only need what is real. I have never asked you to be strong at all times, or burning with passion, or overflowing with energy. I ask only for what every honest soul can bring: a mustard seed. The kind of faith so small that if you are not paying attention, you might think it has disappeared into your palm, and yet that tiny thing is enough to move what once seemed immovable. The mustard seed does not shake mountains with thunder. It moves them by the living essence I placed within it. When you take even the smallest step toward me, the great doors do not open because of the strength of your step, but because I see the pulse of life within that step. A new season does not wait for perfect warriors. It waits for hearts willing to move, even if only one small step. And strangely enough, a small step is sometimes the greatest sign of courage, because it comes from the deepest place within you, where fragility and hope meet. You often think, "My faith is too weak. Surely God does not hear me." But faith is not measured by the loudness of your words. It is measured by the truthfulness of your heart. Every time you whisper, "I don't know if I can, but I want to believe," I mark each beat of that confession. On days when you simply open your eyes and say, "Lord, today I will take one more step," I receive it as worship. In the moments you tremble but still move, fear but still reach out, feel tired but still say, "Lead me," I hear those moments as louder than the shouts of those who walk in abundance. A single small step can shift an entire season, because the season is not opened by you, it is opened by me. Your part is simple: take the step. My part: open heaven. When a heavy door has already been unlatched by my hand, even a fingertip is enough to push it inward. You do not need to strike it, you only need to touch it with the little faith you have. And that touch will open space you never imagined possible. I know there are days when you pull yourself out of bed with the last remnants of hope. I see the times you sit in stillness for a long while just to gather enough strength to speak a single sentence to me. I see the moments when you read a few lines of my word with weary eyes, not because you are aflame with passion, but because you do not want to lose your direction. These things, small in your sight, resound greatly in heaven. For heaven does not measure faith by expression, it measures faith by direction. And when you place even one small step toward me, all of heaven moves in response to that direction. This is why I said a mustard seed can move mountains, not because the seed is strong, but because I am strong within it. When you take a small step, you leave the weight of the old season behind you. You create an opening for me to pour out something great. You come into agreement with me, and that agreement is a key of heaven. You will be surprised to see doors you feared for years swing open because of a slight nudge. You will be surprised to see transformation that does not require a dramatic explosion, only a whisper of trust. You will be surprised to see what I have prepared for so long fall into your life like ripe fruit at the exact moment it is ready to drop. One small step does not change only your day, it changes the entire season. So do not demand yourself to be stronger than what I require. I do not ask you to be decisive all the time. I ask for what even on your weakest day you can still give one step toward me. Just one. I will shift heaven for the rest. One small step can alter the whole season. And in that gentle rhythm, you will begin to realize that the small, daily choices are the way you turn the key to doors I have already unlocked. No grand ritual is needed. No fierce declaration. Sometimes it is a movement so small it feels unworthy of mention. Yet these ordinary motions echo in the unseen realm, like the soft turning of heaven's hinges. There are mornings when the only thing you can do is reach out and switch on the light. The warm yellow glow spreading across the dark room does not change the world, but it changes the direction of your soul. And that direction is the key. Some days you make a cup of tea, not to relax, but to say to me through a silent action, I am still here. Some days you open your Bible for just a few minutes, though your mind is slow to follow the words, but that act of opening is like turning an old lock that has not been touched for a long time. You think it is small, but heaven sees it as a signal that you are becoming ready for something great. Every movement you make in weakness, while still turning toward me, echoes in the invisible realm. One email you send while unsure. One step you place on the floor each morning though your heart feels heavy. One quiet prayer whispered before your tears can be wiped away. One line you write in your journal though your hand trembles. All these acts are unlocking gentle turns that set spiritual mechanisms in motion according to my command. You do not need to shake the whole room. You only need to do your small part. And your small part can trigger the opening of a great door waiting for you. Unlocking does not happen when you feel strong, but when you dare to be faithful in the little things, because faithfulness in the little is you choosing light over laziness, choosing movement over paralysis, choosing belief over surrendering to defeat. And every such choice sends a signal to heaven that you have aligned your heart with mine even while your circumstances remain unchanged. This quiet, humble, steady faithfulness is what causes the heavens to shift. I have seen how often you believed your ordinary days held no value, but in the spiritual realm, those days were your strongest. The day you opened your eyes though you wanted to hide from the sun. The day you reminded yourself to drink water, clean a corner of your desk, or answer a message. The day you opened scripture and managed to read only 3 verses. The day you wrote a short prayer and stopped because your throat tightened. These things are not meaningless. These things are keys. A season does not open with bursts of brilliance. It opens through a series of small decisions that consistently turn your heart toward me. And when those decisions gather together, suddenly you realize the door has been wide open long before you noticed. Not because you did something great, but because you did the small things with faithfulness. You do not need to become the best version of yourself to unlock the season. You only need to become the honest version of yourself. And honesty always has something to place in my hands. Even if it is little, what I require is not perfection, but direction. A small direction, steady and true, is enough to summon heaven into your story. So if today all you can manage is to make tea, turn on a light, or write a single sentence, then do it. You think it is ordinary, but I see it as metal touching the lock of a great door. A gentle turn today becomes a turning point tomorrow. For heaven has never despised the small offering given with faithfulness. And after each small choice you courageously make, the next step is not to try harder but to believe. Faith is not a sudden surge of emotion. It is the space you create within yourself for me to move. You do not need to know how I will work, nor calculate the timing. You only need to open that inner space. And that space becomes the foundation where miracles know exactly where to land. There are days when your faith is no bigger than a breath. You stare at the ceiling, sigh, and whisper, "Please, do what I cannot." You think that is weakness. But in the spiritual realm, it is an empty space, just wide enough for my wind to pass through. Like a slightly opened awning that lets the sky's breeze slip in. Your faith small, thin, trembling as it is, still becomes the place where I initiate my first movement. I have seen the moments when you had no words left to pray, when you simply placed your hand on your chest and kept silent. That silence itself was faith, because you did not shut your heart. I have seen the times when you could not declare anything boldly, when all you managed was a few whispered words. Those whispers were also faith, because you did not give up. And I have seen the days when you stood up only because something small inside you whispered, "Try one more day." That small whisper was the foundation for something great. Faith is not a display of strength. Faith is the empty space unoccupied by fear, which I can fill with my intention. When you stop demanding clarity, when you keep even a small corner of your soul open for hope, when you take a step despite not seeing the road, you create a place where heaven can descend. Scripture says, "Faith is the evidence of what you have not yet seen," Hebrews 11. And that evidence does not lie in your feelings, but in the direction of your heart. It's turning toward me. You do not need to widen that space perfectly. You only need to open it. A single crack is enough for light to break through. A small place is enough for me to lay the first stone of fulfillment. What I prepare is always greater than what you can contain on your own. So I do not ask you to be strong. I ask only that you do not close the door. Because miracles need a place to set their feet. That empty space is the signal to heaven that you are ready. And when heaven sees the signal, the whole atmosphere shifts. Faith lays the foundation for my action because it proclaims one thing: you make room. When you believe, you withdraw your hands from what you cannot control. When you believe, you grant me the right to step in. When you believe, you empty the place fear once occupied, and when that space opens, my movement becomes as effortless as wind entering a room with its doors wide open. Hold on to that space, small, fragile as it may be, for it is precisely there that I am preparing to pour out what you have never seen in any previous season. When that space of faith opens within you, the first movements of heaven begin to appear, not loud, not blinding, but subtle, like a green shoot breaking through soil that has been silent for years. I never lead you into a new season without leaving signs for your soul to recognize that you are moving in the right direction. What I do always has rhythm, breath, and clues, and you will notice them even before the great door swings open. You will see small changes, so small that if your heart were still closed, you would miss them. A word spoken at the perfect moment. A door you didn't pray for, but that gently swings ajar. A person who arrives with kindness you did not expect. Something that was stuck for a long time suddenly becoming smooth. These are the first streams rising as the underground waters begin to shift. You will see confirmations that seem accidental, a verse touching the exact place you just prayed about, a song echoing what you could not put into words, a small sign in your daily life that feels like, "My whisper, I am drawing near." These confirmations are not coincidences. They are the first stones marking the path I prepared long before. You will see small doors open as if they already knew you would walk through them. Not the large doors, not the big turning points, but subtle movements, someone replying to a message you thought was forgotten, a small opportunity rising when you least expected it, a lightness in your soul you cannot logically explain. These are the first warm hints announcing that the sun is about to rise. You do not need to see the whole structure to know a new season is approaching. The green shoot alone tells the soil is no longer asleep. A small change is a large message. A small door opened by the same hand that opens great ones. A small confirmation from the same voice that can change your life. A single moment of inward lightness that foreshadows the long-awaited breakthrough. The first signs always come with gentleness, as though I touch your life with my fingertips before I place my whole hand upon it. I give you just enough so you do not faint. Enough so you know I am truly working, but not so much that you lose your dependence on me. A green shoot does not bear fruit at once, but it is a promise, and I always keep my promises. Do not underestimate the small. A light breeze can come from a great wind moving behind the hill. A faint glimmer can herald the eastern sky beginning to change. A deep inner peace can signal that I am clearing the path to a turning point just ahead. And when your eyes become accustomed to these signs, you will understand that heaven is never silent in the face of a season of fulfillment. Heaven always gives your soul signs to know the season begins inside you before it appears outside you. Those small signs are only the visible part of what I am constructing in the places your hands cannot reach. There are walls you have stared at for years, thinking that if you tried just a bit harder, they would crack, but the harder you tried, the more you realize that some things are not designed to fall by human strength. It is in those very places that I place my hand. True turning does not begin when you push harder, but when I step into the areas where you are powerless. The walls you think are immovable are not immovable. They are simply waiting for a command. You could strike them 1,000 times without shifting a single stone. But when I lay my hand upon them, the entire structure trembles from within, just like Jericho, which did not collapse because of Israel's strength, but because I released sound into the precise point, the precise rhythm, the precise timing. The walls did not fall because of the shout. They fell because I struck their hidden foundation. So it is with the things in your life. Some walls will not move by logic, will not open by effort, will not shift by talent. You do not understand why they stand firm for years, but I know the moment when their roots will loosen. You see only the surface, but I place my hand deep inside. When I turn, the wall will crack when I command. It will collapse. When I touch it, nothing can remain standing. What once exhausted, you will become dust beneath your feet when I have chosen its time. My turning is not gentle like the things you attempt in your own strength. It carries the resonance of a door hinge swung by force, not by human hands, but by the hand that holds the universe. When I turn, the door does not crack open, it bursts wide. When I move, knots do not loosen gradually, they snap. When I shift direction, what once seemed immovable slides aside as if it were too light to resist my weight. You do not need to touch the thing for it to move. You only need to stand where I have placed you. For the work of shifting belongs to me. You once thought, I cannot do anything more. What you did not realize was that this is precisely the premise on which I perform what you cannot reach. I do not ask you to break the wall. I ask you to believe the wall is not forever. I do not ask you to turn the hinge. I ask you to be ready when the door bursts open. Your efforts are never wasted, but they are not the deciding factor. The deciding factor is the moment my hand rests upon the matter. And when my hand rests, everything stops requiring your preparation. What once stretched on for years collapses into a moment. What was sealed tight shifts to wide open without you having to push even once. You will see movements unfold so quickly that you will not have time to name them. Not because you have done anything extraordinary, but because I have marked the time when it must change. The places you cannot reach are not your failures. They are invitations for me to reveal my power. The parts of your life you have let go of are the very places where I long to place my hand. The corners you cannot resolve are the places I step into as the only one who can cause movement. And the walls that refuse to crack under your hand are the very walls that will collapse entirely at my word. Remember this, none of your limits become limits for me, and no wall stands when I have chosen its time to fall. When the walls begin trembling under my touch, you think you understand how I work, but fulfillment has never been something you can predict. I do not bring you into a new season to repeat what I did for someone else. Nor do I lead you through familiar patterns your mind can anticipate. You often want me to open a door in the way you have seen before, or rescue you in the way I did once. But I am not confined to old templates. I am the one who makes every miracle a new thing. And in this season, fulfillment will not come by the straight lines you calculate, but by the unexpected turns only heaven can draw. There are times you expect fulfillment to arise from what you are looking at. Yet, I breathe from a direction you never considered. You see silence ahead and assume nothing is happening. Yet that very silence is the space where I move deeply beneath the surface beyond what ears can hear or logic can measure. You hear no footsteps, but that does not mean I am still. Like the wind, you do not know where it comes from or where it goes, yet you feel its touch upon your skin in the same way. You cannot grasp the process, but you will feel the opening when I lower the unseen into the visible realm of your life. What I do has never depended on your predictions. If I acted the way you expected, your faith would shrink to what you can analyze, but when I choose a direction you never imagined, it is then that you are forced to trust me more than method. I do not bring fulfillment through familiar pathways because I do not want you confined by old experiences. I break the frame so your heart can widen enough to receive what is bigger than anything you have imagined. My fulfillment does not travel through worn-out trails. It flows through openings only I can see. What I do will not resemble the stories others have told, nor the things I once did in your forefathers' lives, nor even the miracles you have read in books, not because those things are no longer true, but because I do not repeat my glory in the ways people expect. Every generation carries its own beauty of my movement. Every life holds its own imprint of my fulfillment. Every promise is revealed according to heaven's rhythm, not the map of the earth. This difference is not to confuse you, but to assure you I am never late, and I never arrive by the old path. And when fulfillment truly descends upon your life, it will not come by the numbers you calculated, nor from the people you expected, nor by the sequence you observed in others. It will come like the wind in John 3:8. No one knows where it comes from or where it goes, but everyone feels its sway. You will also feel that sway in your spirit before your eyes see any change. There will be a small moment like a passing breeze sweeping through the room, and you will know I just breathed upon it. I just moved in a way you cannot describe. I chose my own route, because I want you to know that your fulfillment is unique, unborrowed, unreplicated, unmistakably yours. You do not need to guess the direction of the wind. You only need to be ready to open the door. For I know where the wind must blow. I know when it must shift. I know which path will carry my promise to the exact place nothing on earth can hinder. You will not grasp the method, but you will recognize my fingerprints on the outcome, and then you will understand what happens in your life cannot be produced by strategy or effort, only by me alone. and as what I do begins to move from the unseen to the seen. The light within you will be the first sign to emerge. It is not a light you try to maintain, nor one that depends on the opinions of others. It is the light I ignited in your heart before you even knew you could carry it. That light does not tremble under criticism, does not dim under doubt, does not extinguish under the winds of confusion. It belongs to me, and nothing that belongs to me can be put out by any force. Darkness may be thick and may try to coil around your thoughts, but it cannot overcome a light that comes from me. There will be days when you think that light is fading because you are tired, but the light I place within you does not burn by your strength. It is like the flame that never goes out on the altar, unaffected by encouragement or applause. Every time you breathe in my presence, that flame rises deeper. Every time you choose to stand instead of shrink back, that light expands its reach. Darkness may flood your room, but it cannot swallow a single spark I have lit. For darkness has no authority over what I have marked with my own breath. And even if people speak words meant to dull your radiance, they are nothing more than gusts blowing into a glowing ember. They cannot extinguish it. Instead, they make the flame brighter, hotter, deeper. Every doubt, every judgmental glance, every voice that tries to diminish you has no power to change your essence. They only reveal the light I have placed within you. Because true light does not shrink back when it meets darkness. It simply seeks new space to spread. You do not need to prove anything. You only need to let my light in you keep burning, and it will prove what I am doing. There will be moments when your inner world feels heavy, like a windowless room. But in that very moment, my light will flood in as if it had been waiting outside all along. It does not arrive to create emotional fireworks. It comes to remind you that darkness is not your environment. That light is calm, unforced, but strong enough to tear you away from every layer of haze fear tries to wrap around you. One beam of my light is stronger than an entire room full of shadows, and you will realize you are still burning, even when you thought you had gone out long ago. And when that light begins to flow outward, it does not need permission. It does not need approval from any voice, and it does not need to align with anyone's standards. It simply shines because shining is its nature. No one can extinguish what I ignite. No one can shut what I open. No one can lower what I have lifted. The light within you will stand firm against every word, every question, every doubt, because it was not kindled by human praise, but by the hand of the one who formed the heavens and the earth. That light is proof that your season of fulfillment has truly begun. You do not need to shout for it to grow. You only need to keep your heart soft in my hands, and the light will spread on its own through every area of your life, like the dawn spilling across the hills. It will reach places you cannot reach, illuminate parts of you that you thought were lost, and open doors you never realized were still waiting for you. As the light I placed within you begins to expand, the door I opened for you will become more visible. And in that exact moment, you must hold on to an unshakable truth. No one can shut what I have opened by my own authority. You may hear many voices, many opinions, many objections, but all of them stand outside the jurisdiction of my word. Revelation 3:7 is not merely something to read. It is the seal I place upon this season of yours. What I shut, no one can open. What I open, no one can shut. This means the door of your destiny does not lie in human hands, nor in systems, nor in circumstances, but in the hand of the sovereign who called your name from the very beginning. The door I open is not like the doors of men, where one judgment, one jealousy, or one hasty decision can slam them shut. My door is like the great gates of a city, when the king rises and commands, when the king signals to open. Every guard must step aside when the king passes through. The gate does not argue, it obeys. Likewise, when I open a door in your life, everything that once resisted you must move, not because you force it, but because my authority surpasses every hinge the world tries to lock. You have seen doors stay shut for so long that you believed they would never open. But you did not see that in those years. I was replacing hinges, reinforcing the frame, adjusting the load-bearing structure so that when it opened, it could hold the weight of what I prepared for you. Delays were not meant to deny you, but to prepare the door to match the size of the blessing. That is why when the door opens, it does not crack, it swings wide like a city gate, thrust open with force, unable to be restrained. And when a door has been opened in the spiritual realm, darkness may try to rebuild old walls, but they are nothing more than temporary structures of dust. They cannot touch the foundation of heaven. Threatening words, doubtful glances, barriers built by human hearts, these are only wooden bars placed outside a gate opened by the king's own hand. They do not have enough strength to lock what was opened from a divine source. No force, whether opposition, skepticism, or darkness, has the right to stamp withdrawal on what I have authorized with my own decree. You do not need to push the door, you only need to walk through it. And as you walk, you will see this. Your position is not granted by human favor, therefore it cannot be removed by human will. The door I open for you is not one you begged for, it is one I ordained. No one can close it, because no one holds authority over the blessing I place upon you. Others may not understand, may question, may doubt, but they are not the keepers of the keys. The keys rest in the hand of the one with absolute authority over every door, and I have chosen to open this one for you. And when you stand before that door, remember this: you do not enter because people accept you, you enter because heaven has permitted it. When a king opens the gate and calls a name, that person steps in, and everyone else must make way. Likewise, when I call your name in this hour, the doors will widen on their own. The barriers will lower on their own, and what once seemed immovable will begin to shift. When you step through the door I have opened, what unfolds is not merely personal fulfillment, it is the rising of a new flow I desire to release through your life. This season is not only for you to touch what I promised, but for those around you to benefit from what I placed within you. I do not bring you here simply to stand among blessings, but to become a channel like the river in Ezekiel 47, starting small, then widening, then bringing life wherever it travels. Your fulfillment is the beginning point of the life I want to spread to many others. The glory I pour upon you is not something to keep locked inside a private room. It is like water flowing from where I dwell, growing deeper as it moves, gaining strength as it travels, touching dry lands and turning them into places of renewal. So when you step out of this door, you do not carry merely a formed promise, you carry an atmosphere. Wherever you go, spiritual life will reach not through your effort, but through the flow moving through you. This season of fulfillment does not place only blessing in your hands, it places assignment in your heart. You are not just carried, you are commissioned. Everything you endured in the hidden seasons has caused the water level within you to rise. Every tear, every moment you chose to stand, every small prayer you thought dissolved into the air, all of it helped carve you into a channel wide enough for me to pour through without overflow. You have become a vessel able to carry more than yourself. And then, as you go, You will see something wondrous. My glory will not stop at you. It will travel with you. Like Ezekiel's river, it will revive lands that seem dead, restore dry roots, resurrect dreams, others buried in ashes. You do not need to strive to be the source. You only need to let the source flow. Your fulfillment will open the way for the fulfillment of many others. Because what I begin in one person is often what I use to redeem an entire region. Therefore, do not step in merely to receive. Step in to carry. You are given access to blessing not only to rejoice, but to share. You are shown glory not only to witness it, but to spread it. You are ushered through a great door not just to stand there, but to become a signpost for those still searching for the way. And as you walk under that commissioning, your season of fulfillment will not only be great, it will spill outward like a spiritual flood, unable to be contained by any boundary. As you stand in this new space, you will recognize a truth many do not yet understand. The blessing I place upon you always carries a flow that goes beyond the personal. You are not just stepping into a season of your own, you are stepping into a rhythm of heaven. And in that rhythm, nothing you receive is meant to stop where you stand. I give to you so that through you many others may be touched. Glory is never a destination, it is always a movement. Look back at your journey, and you will see every breaking point. Every season you thought you were fading. Every moment you believed everything had closed, each was only a tributary of the river I have been carving for a long time. A river, before it strengthens and rushes toward the sea, must first slip through stone crevices, soak into the soil, and deepen before it widens. I have done that within your soul. You did not know that what seemed secondary was actually the foundation for a greater outpouring. When the spiritual river begins to flow through you, it will touch people you did not intentionally try to serve. They will sense life in you, not because it comes from you, but because it comes from a greater source. My glory does not need introduction, it testifies of itself. You will enter a room and need not say much. My atmosphere within you will speak first. You will hear words like, "I don't know why, but things feel lighter when you're here." Or, "Something about you makes people want to hope again." That is not you. That is the river flowing from my temple through your life. In this season, wherever you place your feet, there will be a mark, not the mark of someone striving to prove they belong, but the mark of heaven's presence sent to stand beside you. You do not need to raise your hand to declare you are anointed. The anointing will declare itself. You do not need to choose your position. The position will find you. Like the river in Ezekiel 47 that deepens as it flows, the flow within you will strengthen without noise or display. Remember that this river has 3 characteristics. It does not flow backward. Once I have released the slope of the river, it will not return to what it was. The seasons where you once struggled, the places where you once tangled, the loops where you once remained stuck, they will no longer pull you back as before. I am moving you forward, not by pressure, but by the pull of life. You will find yourself leaving old things more easily, letting go of toxic ties more quickly, and moving away from shallow places as naturally as water avoids dry rocks. It brings life to anything it touches, even the frozen places within you, the parts that lost hope. The areas that stopped moving, everything will soften when my presence flows in. You will see people drawn to you not because you have eloquent words, but because living water is flowing through your words. You will witness short conversations that set others free. You will see simple actions brewing tea, listening. Writing a few lines become vessels of healing, not because you tried, but because the river turns the ordinary into the sacred. It spreads according to where I lead. You think you choose where you go, but you are really moving with the rhythm of the river. Chance encounters will become divine appointments. Small doors will lead to vast hallways. Brief conversations will open deep relationships. You will see that the river does not lead you into narrow spaces, but into wide land territory I ordained for you long ago, which you once lacked the confidence to enter. There will be times when you feel like you are carrying nothing. You may feel ordinary, even tired, but just as a river continues flowing even when no one notices, my glory within you will continue working even when you do not feel it strongly. Do not confuse emotion with presence. The river does not depend on your emotional overflow. It depends on the source. And that source is me, the one who does not weaken, does not fatigue, and does not stop midstream. When you pass through a place, you often do not see results immediately, but just as water seeps into the soil and quietly revitalizes the roots, what you sow will descend first before it rises. There will be miracles you will never know you initiated. There will be souls healed by fleeting words you thought insignificant. There will be decisions changed because of an invisible peace you carried. You may not see it, but heaven records every drop of water your flow leaves behind. Now, in this moment when everything I have whispered has settled into your heart, I want you to pause and recognize that you are stepping out of an old chapter and into a space from which you cannot return the same. Every season you have walked through has created new contours in your spirit, and those contours are what enable you to stand at this threshold without trembling as you once did. Every trial that once stung has become a stone paving the way to this moment, a moment in which you no longer live by speculation, but by knowing. You no longer need external signs, because the shift in the atmosphere of the Spirit has grown so full that even your own soul can feel it. I have taken you the long way around so that you would arrive where your inner life is now stronger than your fear, deeper than your confusion, and sturdier than the memories that once held you back. You are not entering this moment blindly. You are entering as one who has endured long nights just to keep your heart from breaking. I did not allow old wounds to define you. I allowed them to soften your roots. I see you not only as one receiving blessing, but as one ready to carry glory into places where light has never reached. And because of this, I tell you that this moment is not an ending, it is the beginning of a river. You need to know this. The space you are stepping into is not a reward for your skill, but a natural part of the journey I wrote for you long ago. I have never allowed a single trial in your life to be wasted, and not one moment has ever been overlooked in my eyes. You once thought you were falling behind, but in truth, I was slowing your pace to deepen your roots. You thought you were weak when you felt nothing, yet it was in those very moments that I was moving most powerfully in the places your eyes could not see. Now, as you stand before a great and widened door, you will understand that your years of waiting were not meant to delay you, but to shape your heart into the right size for grace. You will no longer walk with the posture of someone pushed aside, but with the boldness of one who has been called by name. The light I place upon you will cause you to see the world with eyes no longer trembling, and it will also cause the world to look upon you with a reverence you did not have to manufacture. This door is not one you opened, nor can anyone close it, for I have given it authority to stand open before you. And when you cross its threshold, you will know you are not only welcomed, you are commissioned. You will realize that what I placed within you carries the weight of a river, not a single drop. That river will flow through your words, your steps, and every room you enter, even when you are not trying to create influence. You think you are simply living your normal life, But I am using that very ordinariness to sow life into places where others do not realize they are fading. You will not have to strain to bear witness. Your life itself will naturally become the testimony. You will see people drawn to you not because you have many things to say, but because the peace within you reminds them they still have hope. I am making you a moving refuge, a place where weary souls breathe again what they thought they had lost. And you will see me use your smallest actions, a gentle word, a simple smile to shake great things in the lives of others. This is how I work, not loud, not showy, but full of power. I do not merely let you see my life, I cause you to carry it. And as you go, the river will go with you. I want you to walk away from this page knowing that you are no longer in the season of proving yourself worthy. You are in the season of stepping and carrying, because my seal is upon you. No one can say you are not ready, for I have prepared you through the very things people would call failure. No one can diminish your role, because I do not choose by human standards. No one can push you out of position, because I myself placed you there. You stand here not because your effort was sufficient, but because my love refused to leave you behind. You do not need perfection for me to use you. You need faithfulness, and you have been far more faithful than you realize. Today, I want you to know that heaven has shifted in the direction that carries your name. And from this point forward, your life is no longer a story of self-striving. It is the journey of one carried by glory. So step forward, not hurried, not trembling, but steady. Carry the river within you to every place I lead. For every place you pass through will bear my imprint. Let my breath become the rhythm of your steps so you never feel lost again. Let my light within you shine not through effort, but through presence. Let my glory clothe you like a garment not for display, but for radiance. The season you are stepping into is not a temporary season. It is a destiny season. The door is open. The river is flowing. And glory rests upon your shoulders like a sign. This is not a period at the end of your story. This is the beginning of the chapter heaven has solemnly placed into your hands. And I, the one who goes before you, behind you, and around you will walk with you until everything I have spoken takes visible form upon the earth. Thank you for listening to today's message. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so we can continue receiving living words together, building an unshakable faith, and walking in the boundless love of God. Amen.